Oliver's running for mayor. Can you talk about how that storyline's coming along? And
Well, there's a photo that exists for the next episode where we see him behind a podium. So, I mean, it's weird to. It's actually very atypical for our show to announce something in an episode and then just sort of leave it dormant for an episode, which we did this week because so many other things were going on. But it has been something that I've very much enjoyed. There are two aspects of Oliver's character this year. Well, actually, probably three. I mean, he's a different type of person out in the field. He's a different type of person in the political arena. And then there's a third storyline that we're going to explore in the first third of the year that's also different. So, being almost 80 episodes into a show, it's exciting to play different things. And I like Oliver the politician, and I also like any time we can do something that weaves naturally into the canon of the Green Arrow character. Sort of, everyone has their various reactions, and one of the things, once the team figures this out, Oliver actually says, I got to talk to Lance, to which Laurel responds, not to give too much away, maybe don't bring that up with him, and I'm just like, well, we need the SCPD. So it's an Oliver Queen that has to work with people, and it's exciting.
How does the run for mayor affect Oliver's relationship with Felicity?
Oh, she's very supportive of it. It galvanizes their relationship, and it actually really works well for his relationship with Thea as well, because she becomes involved in his campaign, and I don't know. It allows us to begin to establish an interesting dynamic between Oliver and Damien Dark, because while the dynamic will continue to exist between the Green Arrow and Damien Dark, as we saw in the second episode this year, Dark does not react too kindly to people running for mayor. He doesn't want anyone to be mayor. He doesn't want any galvanizing force or goodness in the city. So this puts everyone at odds. There's an interesting cat and mouse game that is a real focal point of our first 9 episodes. Obviously every one of our seasons breaks down to episode 1 to 9 is normally it's establishing the big bad, and that's not the case this year. Episode 1 to 9 really takes us on an interesting journey. Episode 10 through 16, when we again take another break, kind of a mini midwinter finale, and then we get into our end game. So there is an interesting cat and mouse game developing between Oliver and Damien.
You gave fans a heart attack when you almost proposed to Felicity, only to have that interruption. The last we saw the engagement ring, it is in a bowl in their apartment. When is that
Stupidest
ring?
place to keep it.
When is that ring going to be making another appearance?
Sometime during the season.
Sometime during the first half?
Sometime during the season.
Do you think that if Oliver starts to poll well, that there's kind of a moral and ethical responsibility that he has to let people know what's going on in their life?
That's an interesting question. I think that the whole idea of running for mayor, intrinsic in it, is an idea that we are going to separate the Oliver Queen and the Green Arrow character, because Oliver Queen, as a man representing the city, can do things that the Green Arrow can't, and he can. I mean, the Green Arrow can take down the city's criminals, but he can't rally a crowd with a speech, which is one of the things that I've really enjoyed doing this year. I've had more speeches this year, both good and bad, than I've probably had in the first 3 seasons combined. So no, we definitely want to keep those two things separate.
With Sarah's resurrection, can you talk about Constantine and how Oliver gets Constantine to show up?
First of all, Matt Ryan was really fantastic on the show. The first scene that we shot together, we did the first take, and then he just starts jumping up and down and going, I gotta find him again, 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 because he hadn't played the character. And I mean, I always remember the first episode of every year for me, the first day, I'm just like, I was the worst I've ever been, and then you go back and you see it and it's fine. So he was finding it, but we weave Matt in very nicely and the Constantine character in very nicely. I think that with keeping within the framework of our show, we lend ourselves to the things that makes Constantine fun as a character.
We talked about the grave scene and that you guys still don't really know who could be buried in there. What was your reaction when you found out that there is a looming death this season, and do you have any suspicions?
Well, of course I have suspicions. Of course. I mean, that is I'm extremely proud of our first 9 episodes. I think that they're excellent. I think that that there's not one real moment or one huge swerve in the first 9 episodes, like there have been in almost the first 3 seasons, whether it was a reveal or whether it was someone being alive that you thought was dead, in that case Slade Wilson, which is more commonplace on the show now, but wasn't so much back then. The only time that I was really cracked over the head was reading the script of 401 and seeing the flash forward. I mean, one of my favorite shows of all time is Lost, and my favorite episode ever is when they flash forward for the first time. So for us to do that in episode 401 is, that was very cool.
Do you think they could really kill off Felicity?
They can kill off anyone. You can kill off anyone. Modern television has proven to us that you can literally kill off anyone.
The Smoke is in the episode you're filming now, and she's appeared before. Can you talk about what her dynamic with Oliver is like now that he's dating Felicity?
It's great. It's really good, actually. When she first appears, and I believe she appears in, my goodness, either episode 6. I'd always imagined that Oliver and her had been speaking in the time between them leaving together at the end of season 3, them being Oliver and Felicity, and then returning to Star City, or not returning to Star City, returning to sort of the suburbs. I'd always imagined that Oliver, in his nice, easygoing state, would have a dialogue with Donna Smoke, which is proven correct, and leads to some funny moments. But the dynamic between the two of them is excellent.
In this last night's episode, Hive was brought up. Diggle and Oliver kind of came together on that. Can you kind of preview what their take's going to be on Hive over the next couple episodes?
Well, it varies. There's a variable in place that takes things to another level for Diggle's character, but also for Oliver has one viewpoint on Hive, and Diggle has another much more personal viewpoint on Hive. And while the two of them continue to work together, I think we're over the hump of what happened, at the end of season 3 with Lila. They're not at odds in terms of being against one another, but their viewpoints on how to deal with Hive and the strategy just really come to a head.
In the first 9 episodes, is there any sort of fear within Oliver that Damien could find out his true identity and strike at the people who are important to him?
This is last question.
Sure. Yes. But, and this is an important, it's a good thing to end on. Of course there's a fear of that, but one of the things that Oliver has learned to do this year is trust that everyone on the team, Laurel and Thea and Diggle and Felicity, can handle themselves, and that they wouldn't be doing what they were doing if there's even a line. I wouldn't be doing this if I didn't think that I was going to end up in the crosshairs of a supervillain every once in a while. And so that's the sort of the growth point. One of the growth points for my character this year is, okay, if you guys are in, you guys are in, and I'm going to trust that you can handle yourselves. Even though, one of them is my sister, and of course, the other two are lifelong friends and people that I care about and love, and another one is someone that I'm in love with and actively dating and considering proposing to. So that is a growth point.